All right, we got another great show. It is the one and only coming back onto the show. The co-host Cryptopolis is here with us today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about price action with XRP and Bitcoin and the market in general. Dave, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, Brad. How are you?
I'm doing really great, man. Had a great turkey day. You did too, right?
I sure did.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Ate too much. Whatever. I'm eating my way through this pandemic. Some people get the 19 version. I've got the 25-30 version because that's how many pounds I'm gonna put on before this thing's actually lifted out of here. So
Well, I'm on a carnivore diet. I only eat meat, but I did break it yesterday to get some stuffing and some cranberry sauce and some sweet potatoes in.
oh yeah, and there's a pumpkin cake recipe from scratch that my mother used to have. God rest her soul. And Mrs. Backup made it yesterday for everybody, and it was just fantastic. Oh, I couldn't help myself. All right,
Yeah.
so I'll tell you what else couldn't help themselves is the crypto market, Dave. I mean, whoa. We're in a bull market. We're in a bull run situation, and the market's taking a breath now. But good things are happening from Bitcoin to the altcoins. Where do you want to start here?
Well, I'll tell you, the same thing happened in 2017, which we just talked about. We had a big run up in Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
We went from whatever it was up to near 20,000. And then within a few days, maybe 15, 20 days afterwards, we had all the altcoins go up. I was looking for the same thing happening this time, and it did. We did have a nice run up in Bitcoin from around the 10,000 to the 19,500 level. And then just a few days later, I mean, not even a week, I think we had all the alts take off, especially XRP.
Come on in. Yeah, it just feels nice to hear you say it. Just to hear people say it happen.
Yeah.
So, but in all of the grand explosion of watching all this price action, what do you attribute the catalyst of all this to, Dave, in the market? Because listen, I mean, if anybody wanted to say, what fundamental kicked this off, I mean, we've had 3 years of fundamentals and the market didn't move. What went on here?
Yeah, so I'm a market guy, right? So I only look at charts. I think all of the price information that's available, all of the fundamental data that's available, all of the opinion and sentiment that's available in the marketplace is reflected in price. Yeah. And so the fundamentals really don't matter, just like you described. We've had great fundamentals over the last couple of years, and it really hasn't moved the price. What it really is a kind of an inflection point. It's a point at which everybody starts to recognize, hey, wait a minute. XRP is really cheap here. The relationship between Bitcoin and XRP is cheap. And they all started to get that idea at the same time. There's a terrific book that was written back in the 1890s called The Madness of Crowds. And there is a herd mentality when it comes to markets. It's in the stock market, it's in crypto. And when you start to see there's no sellers left and you start to see a little buying coming in, people don't want to miss that train and they jump on board. And so we had a big run up.
Yeah, it really does make a lot of sense. And, I can't wait. And of course, I'm always trying to look ahead, and I'm the eternal optimist anyway when it comes to this stuff. But I can't help but think, like, what will this look like when XRP actually hits $1 and goes beyond $1? I mean, the FOMO's got to be crazy here, right? I mean,
yeah. So one of the it's fairly easy to identify buy points. In fact, I was having this discussion with Jay High at 139 this morning. It's pretty easy to shout out to him for sure. It's pretty easy to find those buy points. I mean, look at XRP 22 cents, 25 cents. It's ridiculous. And so the true value of XRP is much, much higher. We all know that. So it's easy to identify those buy points. The selling points are much, much more difficult.
Yeah.
And so when we started to run up, I mean, if you're a short-term investor or a swing trader or something like that, where do you pick those sell points? You pick it at 50, 60, 70, 80, and then and where do you get out? I think it's important to have those selling points, especially if you're a long-term investor. Have those selling points written down, whether it's $1, $10, $25, $50, or $100. Have those price points written down so that you have a plan when that hits and there's a lot of volatility, and that market is jumping. You got your orders in to sell whatever percentage you determine at those various price points so that you can make the most money possible. And you know, we only deal in probabilities, not certainties. And so we have to kind of think, hey, I bet you in August, nobody thought XRP would hit 90 cents. Nobody. And yet we did. So if you have your buy point set ahead of time, then you can go ahead and start to work your plan and, you know, make the most money possible from your investment.
Well, you make a fantastic point that we deal with probabilities, right? I mean, that's where we're at here. We don't have the luxury of looking at a chart that was 2 years old to just see, oh, that's what's going to happen next Tuesday, right?
Exactly. Right. So when I do this chart, I looked at past highs and I see all the you know, the price pumps. The biggest one, you know, within the last couple of years was September 2018. We actually, I think it was up to like 17 cents or 70 cents rather on XRP. Let me just take a quick look at that. That was the most recent one, August 20. No, I want to go back further than that. Let me go back here. Yeah. So in September 2018, we hit a high of about 76 cents. And so if you go back there, you see, hey, look, that's where it really started to decline after that. And we, you know, hey, look, like I said, we only deal in probabilities, and the history does not necessarily repeat, but it does rhyme. And so we hit that 75, 80 cents and we started to back off a little bit, which makes sense because people got stuck at that level, want to try to get whole. Now, at this point, it's like, okay, where's the catalyst for the selling coming in? If those people got out, there's only buyers left.
Right.
I mean, everybody else who bought under 75 cents is already sold. If they want to get out, they're already sold out.
That's right.
So the fundamentals don't matter. It's price action right now. There's a good news, bad news on the charts from what I can see. Low 37 cents possibly on XRP before we start to take off. Once we cross $1, I don't think we're ever coming back.
Yeah, I tell you, that's a strong point. I was getting ready to take the conversation there. I agree with you. I think once we cross $1 this time, because there is a very big difference between 2017, 18 and where we are today in 2020, right? If we look at, you know, the onset of PayPal, which we'll get into in another conversation, but you know, we look at those things and the announcement of Libra now and 2.7 billion users coming in on Facebook and having access to a digital dollar. And I'm sure that that's going to, you know, fall in line and look a lot like the PayPal structure there.
Well, you remember when over the summer, what was it, a year or two ago, that we had those discussions, and I think it was 2 years ago in Congress when, you know, I forgot the guy's name from Libra was dragged in there and grilled, and he held up under pressure pretty well. I have to give it to him. He did a very nice job. But boy, he was flustered. I could tell. He was just like, oh man, these guys don't know anything about anything, you know, when it comes to cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
But you know, now they're launching. It's like, wait a minute. This should be another wake-up call to Congress. It should be another wake-up call to all the legislators and to the authorities, you know, especially in the OCC and the Treasury Department. They need to get a handle on this. We need some regulatory clarity. We need to get this thing settled because this thing's going to take off whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger impending news, right? Is that this has gotten so big and they've brought in a couple traditional platforms like the PayPals, the Cash App, the Square, and now Facebook with Libra, and you could see that, you know, this is a different landscape from 2017, 2018. This isn't just the spirit animals in the market, as they say. You know, this is really going to go beyond to create an enormous amount of utility long term for the digital asset market with stable coins and the use of crypto and making those assets ultimately fungible for spending, as PayPal said they're going to do, right? So, you know, this takes the conversation in another direction here right quick. There is a meeting December 3rd with the SEC. A lot of people, including Michael Arrington, I believe, have subtly or not so subtly hinted that this meeting could be a defining moment potentially for crypto and digital assets with the stance that the SEC may or may not take. You know, any thoughts on that right there for you as you look at the market now?
Well, I think they know the time is running out, the clock is ticking, and they really need to get a handle on this and make some decisions here. You know, Congress and really doesn't make huge policy decisions. They don't make the policy decisions. It's the agencies that do.
Mm-hmm.
The agencies tell and bring and show and tell and bring that to the legislators to enact some legislation. And so they're going to be listening. And I think if, hey, look, what's kind of interesting is that Mnuchin is no longer going to be Treasury Secretary. And Janet Yellen looks like, if she gets confirmed, is going to be the new Treasury Secretary, which is kind of baffling a little bit. But anyway, Janet Yellen during her tenure was, a so-so Fed governor. I mean, she held the ship together and she kind of, rode the waves and, she steered it okay. But as Treasury Secretary, she's really not going to need to get up to speed on cryptocurrencies and quickly.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about that. I was really hoping Brian Brooks became Treasury Secretary.
Oh, what did you just say? Now that
would be fun, right?
Oh my word, that would be amazing. From your lips to God's ears. That's all I can tell you. Well, interestingly enough, so looking at all of where we are right now with the agencies and the December 3rd meeting, and we don't know yet what that'll yield, but obviously it's a point in time we're all going to want to pay attention to in case we do get something from the SEC on more definitive for the crypto space ultimately,
yeah,
right?
They really have to be the driver of this. They have to push the agenda forward. They have to push the legislation forward. They have to get it all wrapped up, written perfectly, and get that thing into the hands of the legislators to take some action. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere. And we've gone how many decades now? Decades and decades and decades with no internet law or no internet legislation. There's legislation on privacy and other things and communications, but there's no internet. But they really do have to, I think, get a handle around this new asset class. That's the thing that kills me, is that just like bonds back in the 1600s were a new asset class, they started trading. There was nothing that could stop them. Those stocks, in the 1800s, and now there's cryptocurrencies in the 2020s. We got to get a handle around this, and we have to have something. That's what, and so this SEC meeting is kind of interesting after what Brian Armstrong tweeted from Coinbase about the fact that, hey, look, there might be some regulations coming down specifically about Bitcoin. It's probably going to cover most of the cryptocurrencies, but specifically about Bitcoin and the whole KYC issue around private keys and offline storage of keys. So that's kind of a, like I said, I think most of the information in the market is already in the price, but that tweet coincided with a pretty big sell-off in Bitcoin over the holiday week or a couple of days here. Coincidence? Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot to do with mood and sentiment in the market. Bitcoin was reaching that old high.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to sell before, just couple ticks before it got to that.
I want to get out and taste the profit, right?
Yeah. It's just kind of, taste the profit. So we'll see. Here's another thing too that could really spur them on for this December 3rd meeting is the price action.
Oh yeah.
Hey, just like Giancarlo said, hey, we instituted Bitcoin futures to kind of tame Bitcoin, at the CFTC. What are they going to do to try to tame this in market? Who knows? Maybe they're going to say, hey, look, you can now do futures on XRP. You can do futures in the United States. You can do futures in perpetual contracts in other countries, but you can't do it in the United States yet, as far as I know. So, you've got, I think derivatives are a big part of the stock market because what they allow you to do is manage risk.
Yeah.
We don't have that in cryptocurrency yet. And I think it's got to come, because otherwise you're not going to get the really big institutional investors to come into the space without the ability to manage their risk and hedge.
Yes, I agree. Well said. And I want to remind everybody that as we sit here right now, we are approaching the 30-day mark. It was October 28th that the Federal Reserve and FinCEN proposed a new, changed, amended rule to explicitly include virtual currencies in the definition of money in their respective agencies. Dave, this is not a small thing. And I would remind everyone that I don't want to be, a hypist here or hypey, but, I find it awful interesting that 30-day is an amendment, public comment, and it's going to be amended. This is the Federal Reserve now acknowledging in their definition in another day or two here, because that'll be a month tomorrow, right? So, after tomorrow, right before the December 3rd SEC meeting, might this be a crucial change to those two respective agencies, of which FinCEN has already said in 2015 XRP is a virtual currency? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think they have to bring in Treasury. Treasury and the Fed have been working really closely together. Now, the Fed did come out and say, hey, they're not going to do any more PPP last week. So it's like, well, okay, what are they going to do? If Yellen has her way with Treasury as the Treasury Secretary, and I do wish her all the best. I'm just joking about her being appointed. I mean, she is 74 years old. What do you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's fine. I thought she'd want to retire someplace on a beach. But anyway, so she's going to have a loaded plate here.
Right.
And she has to work with the Fed on this. She has to work with FinCEN. She's got to work with all of these different agencies. Will she be able to keep up with it? Will she be able to really understand the issues with cryptocurrencies and how the adoption is? The mass adoption of them is like a hurricane. You just can't stand in front of it and not get wiped away. I mean, it's just going to be massive. So they got to all be on the same page. And I think President-elect Biden is probably going to be up to speed on this. I don't see him as an obstructionist when it comes to cryptocurrencies.
No.
I think he does like technology. He knows that is probably one of the way that we innovate and will grow the economy over the long term. And so he's going to be on board. And I think there's no way they can turn the page back on this one.
No. Yeah, I agree. And I tell people, and I really do feel this way, that, the fortunate thing for us in the crypto space is that no matter how this election process shakes out or what have you, we win. Crypto holders win, because at the end of the day, this has gone too far and too deep in the respective agencies and the level of government, even internationally now. This has gone too far, and no matter how this thing goes, it is going to be a win for crypto holders. I really do believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of developments too on a fundamental basis.
Yeah.
I mean, look what's happening with Ethereum in just a few days. Ethereum 2.0, Coinbase is going to support it. So a lot of good developments here. I just don't see the downside. I mean, even if XRP does drop to 37 cents, and like I said, we deal with probabilities, not certainties. If it does, hey, another opportunity, right?
That's exactly right. Well, Dave, that's a really great conversation right there. And I want to have an entirely separate conversation with you about a whole host of other things. Let's wrap this up real quick, because the people seem to really dig these shorter versions that we're putting out. And we'll go ahead and start another conversation here in just a second. So everybody, don't go away. We got another one coming right behind this one, and you're not going to want to miss it. We're going to go further down into PayPal, Facebook, Libra, the SEC, Brad Garlinghouse, recent comments about XRP not being a security. We'll catch all of you on the flip side here.